Men are classified bronze, silver and gold. Well, you're going to say Brian Lara is just pure gold.
I didn't enjoy watching people bat. I enjoyed performing.
His record speaks volumes, and the way he copes with big pressure.
He had the swagger and the arrogance that you require to be the best as a genius.
Had his dreams.
I wanted to be the best player in the world, the best batsman in the world.
Fulfill his dream and more.
He won games single-handedly.
He was the most exciting to watch as far as I was concerned.
Brian Lara was a champion cricketer.
How I want to be remembered was, you tell me.
Anyone that can score a triple 100, a quadruple 100 and a 501 has clearly got a game on him.
Brian had great natural talent. He had the ability to play all types of bowling. He would dominate from ball one, both in attack and defence.
He was the one player that you didn't quite know how to set a field to.
He had that cricketing nous. He can work things out rather quickly.
He'd put fielders in a certain position, ready just taking a fielder perhaps from mid-wicket and put him an extra cover. The very next ball he'd work it into the gap at mid-wicket.
He had the ability to kind of just manoeuvre things that no other player could do.
To place the ball exactly where he wanted.
Deflect the ball more behind the stumps, using my wrist to open the face instead of trying to hit it through extra cover.
He had a very extravagant high backlift that went way up above his head.
Very wristy player. I believe that's the reason why I got it up there so quickly.
That added a touch of flair and excitement, I think, to watching him play.
His eyesight was excellent. He had very good reflexes, no doubt about that.
And there was just, this fierce, burning competitiveness within him.
I think he liked the battle of facing quick bowlers, he liked the battle of facing spin bowlers.
People would see him as a great artist, as a batsman, but he was a bit of a warrior as well.
The village I grew up in, Kantara village, is actually at the bottom of a part of the Northern Range. A very misty village, very cool. You don't need air conditioning in that village, I can tell you that even today. Full of, at the time, a lot of housewives, with the husbands working actually maybe in agriculture or transport. A wonderful place, very quiet and very green.
Brownie's come from a family of 11. I came from a family of 9, 6 boys and 3 girls. I think Lara is something like 7 boys and 4 girls, so similar background. Lived in a very small house. I lived in a 2-bedroom bungalow. I think Brian might have lived in a 4-bedroom bungalow at the time. So it was pretty much tough going for both of us.
Your father was obviously a big influence on your life, Bunty. What was he like?
A father of 8 kids. Before myself. So obviously a very big family and someone very versed in bringing up little boys and little girls. So he played a very important part. He was an agricultural worker and great love for family and his wife, Pearl, my mom. And we grew up under very strict family rules and obviously my dad, at that point in time, I think he knew he wasn't going to go for much more kids, so I had a special relationship with him as well. From very early, I had a bat in my hand from the age of 3, 4. Well, we call it a bat, but back then, a coconut branch shaped in the form of a bat by my bigger brother. And that was good enough. I mean, as youngsters, you put your hands on anything. It could be an orange or a Portugal, anything to bowl and anything that you can bat with. Not just a coconut branch, but a piece of wood that be shaped into a bat. So you put up the dustbin or the piece of galvanized against a stick and the guy runs up and bowls. And actually I believe that was the best learning that I've had in my cricketing career, playing with my older brothers, getting out there in the streets after school on an evening. A game will go on for the entire week, and if you get an opportunity to bat, you're batting most likely against bowlers that are much older, stronger. And I think that played a major part in ensuring that, I bridged the gap very early and I learned a lot from playing with older kids and fighting up with older kids to get a knock or to get them out, and the competitiveness was definitely there from very early. I think one of the fundamental things that I did very early that I thought assisted me in my later life as a cricketer, you know, I used to plant putts in and around anything, a dustbin as fielders, you know, and sort of try to find a gap. And I had my own cricket match. You know, my team would be, you know, Fredericks and Greenwich and Viv Richards and Lara and Gomes. You know, I always found this place in the batting lineup for myself. So I did enjoy myself. I didn't need much company to do that. My boyhood hero was definitely Roy Fredericks. Left-hander as myself, an opening batsman, something that I was at my early part of my career. And I loved the way he wore his long sleeve shirt buttoned down to the wrist. I did the same. My dad bought me that. And he was definitely someone I look up to and sort of modeled my little talent, you know, towards. He's definitely an icon in West Indies cricket, and I was fortunate to meet him before he passed away. Quite a few funny stories, you know. With Australia, say for instance, the West Indies playing in Australia in 1976, and we would have the radio on, and obviously as schoolboys, you know, you have to get to bed. And we would hear our dad coming down the corridor, and everyone, you know, the radio would go off and everyone would go into that snoring mode. And you know, we can hear his radio now because he was also a very big cricket fan. And we waited until he got back to the room, and you know, we were there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning listening to the West Indies play in Australia and England and all these different places. So obviously it meant a lot to the entire family, especially the boys in the family. My father and my sister Agnes were the two people instrumental in getting me to the Harvard coaching clinic. I believe Agnes saw the ad in the newspaper and she told my dad about it, and he took me down one Sunday to sign up. I became, you know, a junior member. I spent the next 10 years from the age of 6 to 16 at the Harvard coaching clinic. You'd be batting as a 7, 8-year-old on the nets, and you would listen to the fathers of the boys that you're playing against, and you know, they were in awe. So obviously at that point in time, you realize that you were as good or better than most of the kids, you know, your age. To know, you know, that I had something special, I really did not know about that until I actually started playing regional youth cricket and matching your skills against youngsters from different islands and realizing that you're good enough to be the best at that level as well.
I remember playing against Brian, and he was smashing everyone everywhere. We had some big guys who could really bowl extremely fast at that time, and Brian made them look like they were bowling like spins or something, you know. Every time you look up, he was smashing them to the boundary. So, and I think that's when I really witnessed it. You always hear these things, and you know, breaking news, and he scored another 100. But I actually witnessed it when I was about 14 and he was 16.
I played firstly for Trinidad and Tobago at the age of 16 in the under-19 youth tournament, and for the next 3 years. And within that period of time, I toured Australia with the West Indies youth team as captain, 17, 18 years old, in Australia, the Youth World Cup, where I met guys like Michael Atherton and Nasser Hussain. So from very early, you know, I started playing representative cricket for my country and for the West Indies. But I batted really well, top of the batting for at least 2 of the 3 tournaments that I played in. And the Youth World Cup, we got to the semi-finals and lost there. And yeah, it was fun. I think it was a great experience as a young person growing up to match your skills against, you know, that amount of talent worldwide. It's a great feeling, you know, first of all, to get into the Trinidad and Tobago national team. You know, obviously, the natural progression was to do that, and to get an opportunity so early, and to play against the likes of, you know, Richie Richardson, Viv Richards. Ambrose was not much of a big name yet, you know, but those 2 guys were obviously big players in the West Indies cricket team, and the opportunity to match my skills against them was something very, very special. I owe my entire career to him. And for him not to see me play at least 1 test match, not necessarily break a world record, but not, you know, to wear that burgundy cap and to get out there in the middle and bat for the West Indies. I believe that was what he lived for. He lived vicariously through me. And his entire life, post-retirement, was geared towards ensuring that I had everything possible.
unfortunate, obviously, his passing of his dad. And his dad never really get to see his son excel in the manner that he has done. And I think deep down inside, Brian is obviously deeply hurt by that.
He was almost at every single cricket match that I played, you know, at school level, under 14, under 16, under 19. I mean, if it's just one person you can hold responsible for the person that you have in front of you today is my dad. But obviously I knew exactly, you know, what he wanted. And he wanted me to be a West Indian cricketer and a very good one at it. I enjoyed batting. You know, I didn't enjoy watching people bat. I enjoyed being out there and performing. I prepared myself way beyond what was necessary to do well. I worked really hard in the nets. I would put myself under a lot of pressure, even if it's 15, 20 minutes in the nets. You know, if I had an opportunity to go on the side and do something extra, I will. I believe that those 2 years served me very well. You know, the likes of Sir Vivian playing and captain of the team, just listening, just being in and around those guys in the dressing room.
What a marvellous stroke.
How they talk about the game. You know, one of the other special thing for me as well is rooming with Desmond Haynes or late Malcolm Marshall. You learn so much. These guys, I could tell that they were upset on occasions. They wanted to sleep and I just wanted to talk about cricket. At that stage, Viv Richards already left the scene, and the likes of, you know, Desmond Haynes, our captain at the time, Richard Richardson, were going on in age, and, you know, somebody had to force their way to the front. And, you know, I thought I was competing with, you know, guys like Carl Hooper, Keith Atherton, Jimmy Adams, to establish yourself as the premier batter in the team. It was special innings. You know, your first 100 is always very good. And I remember coming off during one of the breaks, maybe for rain or lunch, and Rohan Kanai, my coach at the time, said that, set your stalls out. And I said, you know, what do you mean by that? He said, well, your next inning starts at 0. Australia made in excess of 500 runs and set about the task of trying to get us out twice. So I had to stay out there and I had to bat for the team. And that's where I sort of picked up a greater desire for batting. Realized that, you know, 100 was not enough. You know, if we're going to bat for 5 sessions, why don't I bat for the 5 sessions? You know, whatever whenever the captain wants to declare, that's when I'm supposed to be walking off the field, putting my bat under my arm. I enjoyed batting. You know, I didn't enjoy watching people bat. I enjoyed being out there and performing. The big screen at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and nearly every boundary or every 5 or 10 runs, you know, a different name will come down. Every 4 or 5 runs is, you know, you surpass this one and you surpass that one, and that was actually a very exciting moment during my innings as well. And obviously, before I got out, I zoned in just through the fact of all that information coming to me on Viv Richards 291. You know, getting a taste very early with the 277 in my very first, my maiden Test 100, I always wanted to get back there. Yes, I did call my daughter Sydney. So I was in the back of my mind thought that, you know, that'd be a name that, you know, that I would like to use at some time in the future. I felt before that obviously with the 277 that, you know, I've laid the foundation for a career in cricket, and it's now for me to grab hold of it and make it into something really big. 1994 was definitely a high point in my career, and definitely a life-changing experience. You know, what happened from April, you know, right through to the end of the year was something that, you know, I only look back now and smile and believe that, you know, and think that, you know, it was unbelievable, and it's definitely shaped my life. No greater opponent than England. Obviously, the home of cricket and the media frenzy and everything that follows an England cricket team is there for any young aspiring cricketer to grab hold of and make use of. By the time we got to Antigua, we've won the series. Again, to score a double century. First of all, to get there in the morning, ensure that you see off the fight of the English bowlers, which you would know that would just maybe a matter of an hour and a half before they don't throw the towel in, but obviously go back on the defense. And I just thought if I saw that period off, then it's up to me and the rest of the day and the captain to decide, when to call it off.
We were trying to get him out, obviously. The pitch was batter friendly, but we had a decent bowling attack. Angus Fraser, Chris Lewis, Andy Caddick, but he made them all look, unfortunately, pretty ordinary. His bat looked about 3 foot wide. I don't remember him playing and missing at all, and he just was there. He booked in for bed and breakfast.
Early on the second day I played golf. Wasn't very good at it, but I thought it relaxed me a lot. 6, 7 o'clock I think it was, got in 9 holes, back in time at the hotel to get the team bus and off to the cricket ground. I think the general consensus in the room and by management was that, we're going to give this guy an opportunity to go for the record. Getting to 300 was a very good feeling. My first triple century in any form of cricket. Obviously, going to bed on 300 plus, you would think that, there is a milestone out there, not too far away, that you'd like to surpass.
I remember speaking to him that night. He couldn't sleep and he needed to talk. He was really hyper. He was a little bit tense and nervous, that the fact that he would be so close, but knowing that he's still got a lot to do.
I definitely sensed that the crowd and the people around and the anticipation in the air. I'm someone that enjoyed, I was motivated by batting it for team situations. All of a sudden I found myself where that particular morning was about myself getting to a record. And it was a very uncomfortable situation for myself. And I started nervously. I drove over cover, just over cover, played a couple loose shots and was lucky I didn't edge the ball to the keeper or the slips.
It was a few nervous moments, that's for sure.
I started to settle down and felt, a lot more comfortable as, I picked a run here, a run there, a boundary. What's going through my head at that point in time, it's obviously I'm one run away or one stroke away from being the new world record holder. I was looking forward to the next delivery. Chris Lewis was running in and I can feel, I know that he's gonna try to produce something. He's not just gonna bowl a length ball outside the off stump. He's gonna bowl something short or a yorker looking to hit my stump. So I knew it was gonna be a scoring opportunity that I had to take advantage of.
He hooked it, and he has broken the world individual test record with a hook before to the mid-wicket boundary.
The euphoria, the feeling, the excitement, everything after that was, it was just amazing. To play that shot, break the record, see the intrusion on the field by so many people, and also be embraced by Sir Garfield Sobers. He said that if there's anybody that I wanted to break my record, it was you.
That was a real special moment, and I remember phoning back people back in the Caribbean, and everyone was obviously excited by the whole news that what he has done was something very, very special and unique. It was a history-making moments that will live with you for the rest of your life. And for Brian to have done what he had done and give us all a lot of joy.
My main regret, obviously, was the fact that my father was not there. Someone who laid that foundation for me to be where I was on that particular day. I dedicated that innings to him because it's There's no greater person or influence in my life at that point in time. And he was gone 5 years already, but definitely missed.
When he finally got that final runs, I think his whole world was about to change.
It's something that you wouldn't think about. You know, you don't think about scoring 365 or 375. You definitely don't think about scoring 1,000 runs in a cricket game.
This is Warwickshire first team cap, Brian, and congratulations.
I left the Caribbean in 1994 after my 375 against England to join Warwickshire. I played for Warwickshire by attaining a contract before the Test record. So it was said that they got a steal. I don't know if they got a steal or not, but they showed interest, and my agent arranged a contract, a one-year deal. It worked out pretty well for them, and that was my first year of county cricket. Dwight York was at Aston Villa. You know, they could have offered anything. The fact that I was in the same city as Dwight York was enough. You know, my best friend, he lived about 5-10 minutes away, and we spent a lot of time together.
Not long after he broke that world record, he signed for Warwickshire. Was that just a coincidence that he signed for Warwickshire?
What do you think? No, it's clearly, by then our relationship was bond. We were very close mates, but we become very best mates.
We both picked up golf at the same time, so we would rush off after cricket about 6-7 o'clock in the evening to the Belfry to get in a round of golf.
It was a very good moment for him, the world record holder, to come to Warwickshire with his best mate, play for Aston Villa. You can imagine how happy and delighted I was.
We enjoyed each other's company. We did a lot of things together and had a lot of fun.
You know, we had the best and the most amazing time in that period of time, because he was at his top of his game and I was just about trying to make way and keep up with him in terms of the publicity and stuff that he was getting. But I was doing okay in terms of my football, and he was a good mentor and leader for me at the time, and a friend when I was sort of understanding what stardom is all about and how to deal with the public, because he was ahead of me.
I believe the Warwickshire team was full of confidence, and the group of players, I felt, was very confident of their ability to do well, and even without my presence, I believe that they would have had a very good season as well. So I think that I added the asset, being the players, and you know, the season came out to be a dream one.
What Brian had brought to the Warwickshire setup as well is, you know, the level that everyone needed to come up to his level. So he inspired the people in and around him as well, in terms of, you know, raising their performances.
The first 6 weeks of my county career was a very successful period, which came to a high point against Durham on June the 6th at Edgbaston. I got to lunch, scoring in excess of 150 runs during the morning period. How do you do that? It's, I suppose, pleasing the crowd and
I bet there was nobody there.
Whoever was there, you needed to entertain them. You know, I had 100 already. We were now playing for first innings points. The conditions were very good. You know, weren't overcast conditions, and the pitch was a good batting pitch again. You know, as you can tell, you know, John Morris scored a double century. So I went about, you know, playing very freely and sort of taking the bowling apart.
But there was no sense that you felt, actually, I'm a bit bored of this now. I fancy just going and putting my feet up.
And do what? Sky something in the air for someone to catch. I grew up playing cricket in the streets and batting for 5 evenings. So I would never do a thing like that.
When you think it just doesn't get any better, this guy just keeps getting better and better all the time. I know he was dropped a couple of times in slips, and you know, I think when you do that, you're going to pay the price.
Resuming play after lunch, I became aware of the world record at the time, 499. I mentioned to Dermot Reed that, you know, I just got 375. I would love to go past it in a first-class innings. And again, in Australia, when I scored 277, a lot of things came up on the electronic screen. This did not happen at Edgbaston, but there was somebody on the mic every 5 or 10 runs talking about which batsman I went past. If I went past Graham Hick, I went past McLaurin, then 424, and as the runs go up, and then obviously they kept a bit quiet because there was a big gap between, you know, the next one, which was 499.
They didn't know where to bowl to him, and when you're having bowlers saying that you don't know where to bowl to him, you know that it was only going to be one outcome.
The crowd also grew. We might have had 1,000 people at the beginning of the day. It was now 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was at least 8,000 to 10,000 people at the ground. And it was a different feeling. You know, obviously now that, you know, there it was, another record, just there. I still had to score at a very fast pace. I was batting with Piper, and he came up to me and he said to me, "Do you know that this is the last over?" I said, "No." He said, "This is the last over. It's the 10th over in the mandatory 20, and the umpires are going to, you know, call the game off after this." So I was a bit surprised, but obviously I realized that, you know, what I had to do in this over to achieve breaking the record.
And what score were you on?
I was on 497. Yes, 497. 2 away from equaling, 3 from breaking the record. John Morris was bowling the over. Bowled a short ball. I swung before it arrived, and it hit me on the helmet. I think he still talks about this in some of his after-dinner speeches. Hitting Brian Lara on the head on 497. Not much people have done that. And I think he pitched one up outside the off stump, which I drove through extra cover for 4. It's something that you didn't think about. You know, you don't think about scoring 365 or 375. You definitely don't think about scoring 1,000 runs in a cricket game. I really thought that, you know, the 375 could be broken, but I was not sure about the 501. I thought that would be there to stay. Now to hold the 2 prized records in cricket, you know, the first class high score and the test high score, was an awesome feeling.
Brian Lara has today made 501 not out for his English county Warwickshire, establishing a new world record for the highest individual score in first-class cricket.
Life was definitely going to be different. The frenzy, the media shut through the roof again. Fortunately for me, I arranged a trip back home before the record, and I was off to the Caribbean for a 3 or 4 day break. But guess what? 25, 30 journalists traveled with me back to the Caribbean, back to Trinidad and Tobago, and that was intrusion.
Very happy to be here. Yeah, very sad.
Going to Santa Cruz, to my village, seeing my mom, and that little 3 or 4 day period really was not a break. It was, you know, turned into a bit of a media circus.
Brian couldn't even walk the streets in Birmingham at that time because he had become such front page and back page news, whatever he did.
I mean, the attention was beyond anything that I've ever experienced. You know, you're now recognized as a megastar. It was a whole different feeling. My life changed drastically, as would be expected with those achievements. Coming from a very small island, 1.3 million people, my physical and mental state for months after that, I became a lot tired and felt physically incapable of doing certain things because of the strain of playing so much cricket, coming under the microscope for such a long period of time. I dealt with my fame more trial and error. Handled things in a certain way that I don't regret, but obviously I've learned a lot from it. In terms of getting away from it, I enjoyed golf a lot more. With some criticism, that didn't go without criticism from cricket authorities thinking that, it affected my game or my concentration was more on the golf course. And sometimes I would stand at slip and at a dead part of a test match and practice a little golf swing, and that, I suppose, agitated a few people as well. I think one of the stresses for me was the fact that I was playing cricket for so many months, continuously, something that I've never done before. And every time I played cricket in the past, it was with great eagerness and a want to get out there. And I found myself at times that, looking outside, I heard the English weather sometimes could be really bad, but I think it was a very good summer. And hoping to see some dark clouds and not seeing any. So for me, that was one of the main stresses. And obviously that filtered maybe towards my teammates, towards my approach, my attitude on occasions. At the end of the day, people realized that I was only like a human being, and there's certain things that were definitely out of my reach, out of my skill reach, and I needed rest and I needed time for myself, and it was very tough. And I mean, to be fair, world cricket at that point in time, got a great injection, and everybody loved it, and I was sort of the catalyst and had to deal with what came with it. You could really and truly divide my career in 3 stages, pre-1995, that period between 95 and early 1999, and the remainder of my career. And even if you look at my batting, you would see the first and the third part as being very, very good, up there with the best. And then obviously the middle period, something that sort of dragged me down.
West Indies was going through one of their phases where things wasn't particularly great in terms of result-wise. Despite the talent that we had, for some reason we wasn't getting the result. And of course, over the years, the West Indies have set themselves a very high standard. The people of the West Indies have expected when the West Indies team go out there is to compete and to get result.
I felt very optimistic about my skill as a leader to take West Indies out of the situation out of the decline. I felt that I had what it took to become a captain. I captained different youth teams. I was very successful at level, but it's a whole different beast. Becoming the captain of the West Indies cricket team in terms of the politics and the divisions in our society back in the Caribbean. You had to deal with a lot more. And again, maybe I was not prepared for it. Everything, sort of crumbled. Maybe I wasn't a natural, and maybe there were some things that, I needed to learn about that, I was very naive about. And it definitely affected me in terms of my ability to do the job that I thought I was capable of doing.
When you are successful, as Brian is, there is a lot of people out there can't wait to see you not succeed. Don't know why. It's in human nature. It's always going to be hurtful when people are criticizing you. And when you're a sportsman, you've got to expect criticism. But it's the unfair criticism that the one thing that is Brian didn't feel that he was treated in the right way or being criticized in the right manner.
We weren't churning out as much stars as we were in the past. The talent pool dipped slightly. There was a lot of panic. A lot of players were playing 1 or 2 test matches and back out. Guys were coming in, not achieving much at first class level.
So did you feel powerless in a way then?
I felt that the team, in terms of the people responsible for our cricket and selecting of players, weren't doing the best job possible. So that's why I am very upset when the finger is pointed at the players all the time as the reason why, you know, the decline is there, or the reason why we lost this test match. It's a combination of a lot of wrong things happening at the same time.
When you become captain, you have to be a leader, you have to take responsibility when things are going well, when things are going bad, you have to stand up and face the music, as they say. And Brian done all those things. He didn't shy away from any of those moments. But I know for a fact, deep down inside, that he felt that he didn't get the backing from around that he thought he would have got. Had he known that, or what was going to be the outcome, then I didn't think he would have taken the captaincy.
We won the ICC trophy in 2004. One thing that I like boasting about is that, you know, the 3 or 4 ICC championships that we played in under my leadership, that we were in the finals in 3 of them. But still not getting what I really wanted out of the leadership position, which is, again, to get West Indies out of the doldrums and back up to the top. The last test match of the 2004 series against England was being played in Antigua. Under totally different circumstances to any of the previous English tours to the Caribbean. This time England was actually leading the series 3-0, and another loss would have meant a series 4-0 loss to England, something that has never happened. And we entered Antigua with, of course, the English players high in spirits, and the West Indians sort of we were picking ourselves up from the doldrums.
The likes of Steve Harmison, Simon Jones, Matthew Hoggard, Andrew Flintoff had very much had the wood over Brian Lara in that series up until the final test match.
We actually had him out caught on naught, you know, not giving out. I think in the DRS world of today, they've been giving out on naught. Steve Harmison got one just to nip away from him.
On naught, I felt nothing in my bat. I'm someone who would walk if I know I was out. I'm not going to walk if I feel I was out or if someone else felt I was out.
Steve Harmison had a massive appeal for caught behind for him on naught in the first innings, and given not out, we felt that he definitely nicked it. It was inconclusive. When we look back on it, there was no DRS back in those days.
I felt nothing in my bat. You know, of course there was a little sound as the ball went past, and the English players all went up, and fortunate for me, the umpire said not up.
He got to around about 50 or 60 at lunchtime, and then came out after lunch and started to really time the ball and place it beautifully. And the pitch was very flat, it was boiling hot.
We needed someone to stay out there, and you know, I was happy that it was me.
From there on in, I remember looking around the field and went to Michael Vaughan, who was captain at the time. I said, you know what, I think the record's on again. And we both sort of looked at each other and sort of, no, he can't possibly.
I don't remember any specific shots that he played, other than every time we brought the field in, he hit it over our heads, and every time we put them back, he just knocked it for 1s and 2s, so he's a genius.
10 years ago, the lack of experience in being in that position obviously had me a lot more nervous. In 2004, I was much more calculated. I knew where I was, I knew what I had to do, and in a much better frame of mind. It was also a very exceptional feeling. You know, no one could lie and say, well, you know, it didn't feel as good as 375, but it felt as good or even better to go past, and to be the first person to get to 400. To
overcome a poor series, he'd not played well, and then get to a point where it's almost inevitable that the man's going to score a quadruple century is just a mark of a very, very, very fine player.
I'll give all my records if, you know, I played in an era where I played innings that pulled off victories, and West Indies maintained their rating as the #1 team in the world.
After your third stint as captain, 2007, you decided to retire. Why did you decide to retire?
My feeling was that we were in a very good position to do a lot better in the World Cup. we disappointed. And I always felt that after the World Cup, I wanted to retire because I felt that at that point in time, West Indies did not need two captains, first of all, and maybe the next captain would need a team that he'd be able to handle and not have, you know, a Brian Lara or anybody in the background. I thought that, you know, West Indies cricket would be better off, right, with someone taking a young team forward. And that's the only reason why I felt it was time to call it a day. After my retirement, I took up full-time my position as an ambassador, which was handed over in 2004 after my 400 runs given to me by, you know, my government. And I travel a lot with tourism, sports tourism especially. It has some commitment, you know, that position. And also I do a lot of work for my charity, which is, you know, after my parents' name, the Pearl and Bounty Lara Foundation. So I'm very busy. I do find time to go on little golf trips, which is good, and time to spend with my daughters. If I was to look back at my career, I believe that, you know, I'd most likely break it down into 3 stages. You know, pre-1994, a young man out there trying to make a name for himself, trying to be recognized in the cricketing world, trying to get to the top. Obviously, getting to the top in 1994, I believe that the period 1995 to the beginning of 99 was maybe a period that I was not expecting, was not trained for, had no experience in, and it definitely took a toll on me and my performances off the field, my personality off the field. It was tough, you know, but I climbed out of it, and I was happy to sort of go into another period in my life, which I consider to be the 3rd stage, from 99 till the end of my career, where my cricket got back to where I had it at the beginning, and I felt very comfortable. I was a lot more mature person, and I performed at a level that I knew I could. Legacy is a difficult thing, but the legacy I felt I left is the fact that I entertained.
He was by far and away the most exciting to watch as far as I was concerned.
That's what I set about doing, making sure that the person that paid to come through the turnstiles was happy with the way I performed.
Sir Vivian Richards, Brian Lara, you know, they're alongside each other.
Brian Lara is really right up there with the greatest players that ever lived.
Cricket and West Indian cricket has a great history, great meaning to our people, to the psyche of our people. And I hope that I've left them with the feeling that I have played my heart out at all times.
Brian Lara took on all comers in the most difficult and testing arena, which was Test match arena. There is no comparison.
He is a once-in-a-lifetime talent that comes along on a very rare moment.
He won games almost single-handedly.
I want to be remembered the way how you feel about me.
It's class. He's a genius, there's no doubt about that.
If there's anything I can change, it would definitely be to have my dad there watching me play Test cricket. Just for him to see me play at least 1 Test match. And I know he lived vicariously through me, especially post his retirement. He made sure that I had everything possible. You know, he made all the sacrifices necessary for me to get to the top. And if it's one person you can say responsible for what took place, is my dad. And I believe that the way how I communicate with him is by achieving and putting a smile on his face. And I mean, I know he was watching, and I know he was very proud of my achievements, and I owe it all to him. Well, the person you see in front of you today is all because of Bounty Lara.